Welcome back to my channel, and I am fully healthy finally, and I'm gonna do this Q&A because it's code red and I'm not allowed to go buy cards, because I've tried to convince them that it's an essential to my life, but they don't believe me, so it's considered non-essential. We're not allowed to buy things that are non-essential right now. So yeah, I can't get cards, and nothing's changed in the meta that's interested me. So yeah, we're gonna do this Q&A. I haven't done one in a while, and I'd like to get to know you guys, and I would like you guys to get to know me. So yeah, here's a bunch of questions about me and about Yu-Gi-Oh! You'll hear some wrestling in there too. First question is from Melody. She asks, how old was I when I started training? I have no idea. And how long was it before my first match? Well, I started training as a summer activity 1 year in university, and then I did nothing with it until many years later. So several years. We're talking 7, maybe. No, not that many. Several years. Andy asks 3. My dream opponent, my favorite match, and my ban list predictions. So ban list predictions is really tough because there's a lot to go into, but very short. Electromite comes back to 1. I'd love Skullcrack Joker and Monkey Board to come off, because all of them could come off to 3, and like nothing would happen with Pendulum in the format. It's not going to make it a top tier deck. I'm sorry, it's just not. Everything else would have to be butchered in order for that to happen. My favorite match is probably a singles match I had against Mike McSugar, a submission match at HIW King's Challenge. My dream opponent is Daniel Bryan or Zack Sabre Jr. Fluffy Dex asks, what is my favorite magician card? Now, if you mean magician as in any magician, it's the Black Magician, the Dark Magician. Because it was the card that got me first into the game. But if you mean specifically an archetype, I would say Harmonizing Magician, because it's the best one. Simple. Zombie Slayer 9000 asks, I wrestle? Question mark. And how is things aside from Code Red? I've been terribly ill, had a dental surgery, not feeling the fantastic, but I cannot wait for Code Red to be over. But other than that, I'm okay. I hope you're okay too. Thanks for asking. And yes, I am a wrestler. I'm a professional wrestler based out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I wrestle all across Canada and soon to be in the United States. My home promotion is called Premier Championship Wrestling, and I have wrestled the former IWGP Heavyweight Champion and current AEW World Champion Kenny Omega 8 times, and I have a winning record of 5-3 against him. He is a scrub. No, not really. He's a great guy. Cole to ask, what are my favorite moves in wrestling? My favorite moves in wrestling are like what most people would consider very boring. It's like a lot of holds. One is called the Lightning Lock Beta, the Label Lock, I love it. The Chikara Special, I love that. I'm more of a fan of technical wrestling than I am of anything else, so I love those kinds of moves. Great question. Asked me, what would I like to change about the current metagame if I had a wish and could just Thanos snap things into existence? I hate any 14 hand trap format. The mass negate interruption makes it feel like it's all based on luck now. If I don't open my 3 hand traps to stop you, then I just won't get to play at all. And that's not Yu-Gi-Oh! Both players using extra deck locks to try and lock the other out of the extra deck, that's not Yu-Gi-Oh! My biggest problem with playing meta decks all the time is why do Yu-Gi-Oh! Players hate actually playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay? Locking your opponent out of playing the game is not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It's playing solitaire. I don't understand the obsession with it, and I would love to change all that about the meta and go back to like a meta that's more like the Sky Striker, Orcus, Salamangreat, Thunder Dragon format, where everything was playable and you definitely had stronger decks, but none of them were insane. Orcus put up, what, 2 interruptions? Yeah, that's what I would like to do. Dylan James asks, who's your favorite dinosaur player? I don't have one because fuck dinosaur. One of the Facebook questions, and first up is Case, and he asked me how old was I when I started playing, and truthfully, I don't know. Whatever year the game came out, add count until 1980, from 1985 until then, that's how old I was. That's when I started playing. Jake out in the UK asked me why do I stick with pendulums even though they're not the most competitive. I don't stick with pendulums. I stick with Pendulum Magician, and because I like it. I like how it plays. I like the deck's artwork. I like mysticism and magic. Like Doctor Strange is one of my favorite comic book characters. When I played Dungeons and Dragons, I was always a wizard usually. So I kind of like the aesthetic. I like how it plays. I like the variety. I can Xyz, I can Synchro, I can Fusion, I can do whatever I want. I mean, Pendulum Fusion is an amazing card. Wait till we get Pendulum Xyz in the TCG. That card is nuts, and I can't wait to get it. It's so much fun. It's so cool. There's just so much we can do, and it's so much more fun than playing meta decks where you just don't do anything. You like decks in the meta now aren't actually decks, right? They're a core of hand traps and then whatever your engine is. That's it. That to me is boring. That's why I love pendulums. Magicians. Pendulum magicians. I gotta get out of the habit of just saying pendulums because there's so many pendulum decks, but I play Pendulum Magician 90% of the time. Sure, enunciating his name, but I think Heki is how you would say it, or yeah. He asked me what best boss monster in the game is right now, and it's probably like Access Code Talker. I mean, it's very low skill, very non-interactive, can clear a whole board by itself. However, it has the disadvantage of not being able to do that on its own. It requires setup, but it also requires that setup to even make it. So like, you're going to be able to do it regardless. So it's either that or like Savage Dragon. There's a reason Savage Dragon is in like every deck. And I could even see them banning Savage Dragon for that reason because it's so generic. And I would actually wish that boss monsters got away from being so generic. So like decks would actually have to use the monsters that they're supposed to friggin' use and not just use Savage Dragon, use Calamities, use any of these generic monsters instead of the ones that they're actually supposed to be using. I would love to see that. I like Salamangreat, for example, because it was all in archetype for a while, and now that it's not anymore, I don't like it. But yeah, Sky Striker was an example. They only use Sky Striker monsters. It was awesome, and now they just use Access Code Talker. Yeah, so yeah, it's what it is. Access Code, probably the best boss monster in the game. Maybe Zeus, because Zodiac sucks. Let me tell you something about Zodiac and why I think Zodiac is boring. Every single game you play against Zodiac is going to go exactly the same. Normal summon, Xyz, 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 Borbo, attack, Zeus. That's it. Every single game. It's brainless. Just like Virtual World. Every single game. I make Calamities. That's it. That's all Virtual World does, and it's the top deck. If that doesn't tell you that Calamities needs to be banned, I don't know what does. One card makes it the top deck, and it's Calamities. You take Calamities away, that deck doesn't do anything. Right, so that was it. That was every question I got. Thank you for everybody who wished me well in that 2 weeks where I was feeling really bad. I'm on the mend now. Thank you very much. It was not COVID-19. There's nothing to worry about. My life is not in danger. I was never in danger. But take care of yourselves and others, and stay healthy, stay happy. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and check out my Patreon.